In the next part of this module, we will discuss full cost recovery and how using it can ensure grants are contributing to financial stability. We will explore understanding full cost recovery, what it can enable you to do, and important considerations when using it in your charity. This is the funding model part of your Foundations for Success. A common misconception is that we can't ask grant funders for organisational running costs. It is true that many grant funders want to understand the impact their funding is having, and some prefer for it to be used on direct delivery only, and some are much stricter about this than others. But this mentality could be a self-fulfilling prophecy. Too often, we are nervous to ask for what we actually need, and sometimes that is because we haven't considered the full cost of what it takes to deliver a service. If we know what it actually costs and are able to present that and understand when a grant funder will or won't fund it, we will be in a much stronger position. So what is full cost recovery? Sometimes known as core cost recovery or cost recovery, it simply means that you are fully attributing all the costs associated with running a project or service, and you are working to recover those within your fundraising or broader income mechanism. Consider a t-shirt. This image shows a breakdown of all the costs of making your t-shirt and getting it to you in the shop and selling it to you. Within the retail markup, there is further breakdown of premises, staffing, utilities, insurance, marketing and profit. But all of these costs are presented in the price you pay, £20 in this instance, and we don't question that. And if the business doesn't find a way to recover those costs through the price it charges us, they will go bust. Within our charities, we have similar breakdown of costs. First, we have direct costs of delivering our activity. For example, in a night shelter, this might include staff team, accommodation, laundry, food and utilities. All of these are essential to direct delivery of the service. Then we have direct support costs. These are costs which are essential to enable you to deliver the service, but might be shared with other services, things like training and marketing, monitoring and evaluation, and regulatory costs for specific services. Then there are indirect costs. These are the costs of running the charity which runs the service. They are essential for safe and effective running of the organisation and include governance, finance, insurance, HR, and IT infrastructure. These are typically the items we expect to see in the three cost types, but often we just focus on those direct costs because we haven't got a mechanism to understand how much of the direct support and indirect costs are attributable to the project. Or we are cautious about how we account for these costs because we think funders don't want to pay for them. So we don't get all parts funded and we don't recoup the costs involved in delivering a project, which puts us at risk. We know that not all grant funders will cover a full cost of a project, but us having a better understanding of these costs and how we can attribute as many as possible towards direct delivery will put us in a stronger position when we ask for funds. One way we can build confidence in asking for these costs is to work to move items towards direct costs wherever possible. So for example, rather than putting all CEO salary as indirect, if they are directly involved in delivery, could they be indirect support costs? Similarly with management of the staff team, if it is essential to the project, are they direct or direct support? You might have specific IT, software or equipment for a project, regulatory costs that could either be direct or direct support, as well as training. By doing this, we will reduce the likelihood of you getting caught in a trap of a percentage management fee covering everything except staff and travel costs and never being enough. This makes it clearer about what we are asking for. We would expect the majority of costs being asked for a specific project to be direct, usually staffing, and we want to itemise these and request them from a funder. Then we have the direct support costs, which are again itemised. These are usually less overall than the direct costs because they are shared with others. And finally, we have the indirect costs, and we don't itemise these contribution to running costs. We present them as a lump sum. Often we will present this as a proportion of the project budget, but if we've loaded too much into our indirect costs, we will never fully recover them, as there will be a disproportionate amount of the funding we are asking for, so we will avoid doing so. To use full cost recovery effectively, you should apply it across your whole organisation. It won't work if you use it just for one service. You need to know all of your costs. You need to ask questions about them. Would we have this cost without an activity? Is the cost shared between services? Is the cost required to run the charity well? Think about your plans for growth. You know what you need to cover your existing costs, but what will you need moving forward if you are planning to grow? And think about how you can allocate people's time in different services, like marketing, monitoring and evaluation, and management. Is it a proportion of salary, day rates, or another mechanism? So now we understand what full cost recovery is. What difference can it make to your charity and your grant fundraising? Firstly, it can help you make better decisions about how to meet your indirect costs. Worry about core costs is a significant concern for many small and medium charity CEOs, and having a model to help plan this is important. With current funding practices, full cost recovery through project grants is highly unlikely, so we need to have clarity on what isn't funded and how else we can cover those costs. There are a number of ways we could do this. We can recover indirect costs through grant contributions wherever possible. We might find a grant to cover them. They do exist, although they're not as common as we would like. You can consider how your contracts contribute. Often, contracts are unrestricted income and occasionally can enable a bigger portion of indirect costs to be drawn from them. And finally, consider other fundraising and income generation. This does take additional capacity, but it reduces the risk of not being able to cover costs via grants. Next, it can help you make decisions if a single grant won't cover costs. You can ask, can you raise the rest in other ways? Can you allocate costs from another service? Is some money better than none if it enables you to deliver it? And is it an essential service for your strategy? If not, do you need to consider not running it? Finally, it can help understand when a service can't be fully funded because it isn't attractive to funders. Similar to when one grant doesn't cover, ask, can you subsidise this service from other funds? Is there another way to deliver this service, combining it with other parts of your organisation? What is the risk of ceasing this service, and is that acceptable? And what is the risk of continuing to run this service underfunded, and how long are you willing to take that risk? Now that we understand the benefits of full cost recovery and there are some more considerations to be had. Firstly, it isn't a magic bullet. It isn't going to suddenly change the habits of all your grant funders and mean they are going to cover all of your costs. But it will mean you have a better conversation with funders. You will be able to more clearly present the funding need and be clearer with them about the impact part funding will have. Next, it is a point in time. Like all annual or multi-year budgets you create, it's with the information you have at that time. And things can change that impact the model. A new contract, other grant fund, change in delivery model, change in costs. But it will improve your financial planning and approach to managing risk in the charity. You will be able to make better decisions as a result of completing it. There is no one way to do it, but there are some principles to follow and guidance to create a full cost recovery model for your organisation. But what it looks like and how you use it will be individual to your charity, and that's okay, because each charity runs differently. As long as you are using it to make better decisions and better present your funding need, it is a valuable exercise. There is no preferred percentage management fee across all funders. This is something that is often asked, but striving for a magical number can create risk because it means you might not be understanding and asking for the costs of delivering a service. This is why it's important to move items towards direct support costs wherever possible, because some funders do have a limit on management costs, but not all, and increasingly, funders recognise it as a flawed model because every charity is very different. And finally, be mindful that full cost recovery doesn't create inequalities in your team. Having better understanding of your costs related to marketing, monitoring and evaluation, and how to recover them is really important, and it will enable you to better articulate to funders, which is positive as a mechanism to recover the money you need to run the service. But be wary of how this translates into day-to-day working in your charity. You can create transactional relationships where marketing will only work with teams who can pay, and those services that aren't able to generate income receive no support. But both monitoring and marketing are cross-organisational functions, and understanding and delivery across the organisation are essential, and it can really damage understanding and articulating your impact in working in this way. Further guidance on full cost recovery can be found from NCVO, BAYS, which is formerly CAS Business School, and the National Lottery Community Fund.